No sighing. Shush.
Marks. Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review number 186. I am Virtue, being joined by this week's elite panel of NoDQ. Big G is back, Walter Cruz is back, Noah Foster is in the house, and of course, Aaron Riff. Gentlemen, what's going on? And you know what? I will go to Noah Foster because I think you've been away the longest out of this group. What's up, Noah?
Oh, not a whole lot. 6 month anniversary of being a homeowner as of today. Wrestling continues to be wrestling in all of its forms, both the good, the bad, and indifferent. And life just keeps being simple. Good to see you again.
All right, and we're going to talk some wrestling, and it's great to hear your opinion. Sometimes it clashes with mine, and that's what we like here on the NoDQ Review. Big G, since you're happy to be here, what's up?
As always, I'm doing pretty good. Went to the show at Dynamite last night, going back to work. And then next weekend is Celeb Fest 4, so that's going to be a busy weekend next weekend. So other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
All right. And a shout out to Colin the Cleaver Andrew, who is in the chat. I don't know how long he can be in the chat tonight if he's working, but he is here right now. Shout out to him. Walter Cruz, look at that shirt you're wearing, the Troll Slayer. I'm telling you, man, this landscape of wrestling fans, it keeps me more entertained than the wrestling itself. What's up?
Nothing much. How you guys doing? I'm glad to be back. Definitely troll slaying right now with the robot number 3 is my name. And Aaron and I look like the before and after of your personality. You went from this to that. So we represent both sides of Virtue.
And my favorite shirt is still the fire orange with the NoDQ Fire Virtue shirt. Most colorful one of the bunch. I think that's still back on the Pro Wrestling Tees site, though. But nonetheless, guys, are you ready to talk about wrestling?
Let's get right into it.
NoDQ chat, you can ask questions. You don't have to super chat. We might see them. Aaron might feature them on the bottom. But if you super chat, it's going to definitely get Aaron's attention, and we'll talk about whatever you want us to. And again, we are leading up to NoDQ Review number 200 a few months from now, where we're going to feature the whole show based on super chats and what the NoDQ Galaxy asks us to talk about for the entire time. We could set a record over 2 hours. Who knows? So you guys can feel free to start practicing for that this evening. But topic number 1, NXT releases. Now, Aaron, of course, this drops after the review last week, so we couldn't get it hot off the press, and I know you've talked about it since, but let's see some notables. Dakota Kai, Harland, who was that Brock Lesnar type in the making, Parker. How do you say his last name, Noah? Bordeaux. Okay. And they're gone from NXT, and rumors are maybe we can see a cycle of releases every few months, and it could be a bigger revolving door than ever down there in NXT. So Noah Foster, thoughts on this, and is this going to be a thing now? I mean, we always would get, once or twice a year, the big releases, main roster, whatnot. Now WWE, hey, let's start releasing people. And it's interesting because they feature them, and like they want to develop them, and then they cut bait, and it's like, that's weird. Don't you think they would be cutting bait with people that like we don't even see on the NXT program, maybe that they're not getting good enough to even be on our development? Let's get rid of them. But no, they're cutting people they're putting out there in front of the audience, and that's just weird. But they've done that for a long, long time. So Noah, what's your take?
Well, the fact this is over 200 people now since they really started these whole budget cuts, spring cleaning, whatever you want to call it, Black Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, insert day here, it certainly does seem like that. But now it's almost like literally everything you do down there is trial by fire. Your performance, whether how you talk or how you put yourself in the ring, can make or break you just like that. Apparently, the reason they released the apparent maybe next Brock Lesnar was due to the fact they didn't like what he was doing so far in the ring. And I feel there are others becoming more aware of this strategy maybe being proposed by the WWE, because people like Malcolm Bibbins, for example, he didn't want to renew his contract, and Roderick Strong even asked for his release, but he was denied so far due to creative. Whether or not that's the true intention, or they want to make sure that the industry can't pick up somebody like this, is another thing. It's one of those things where I feel like right now it's like a double-edged sword. They're doing this to bottleneck the competition, because there's competition out there when you think about the rest of the wrestling industry in general, for picking up these people and maybe seeing some potential in what they can do with themselves. I'm kind of fearing for others most recently that more so fit the mold of independent wrestler versus maybe next up and coming sports entertainer, including but not limited to the former Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, Roxanne. I know they're very high on Nikita Lyons, for example, but again, Vince flips his switch like that. So I definitely see this being more of a quarterly thing. And at this point, it really makes me wonder, okay, you're in NXT, but for how long? Because one day you're good, the next day, I don't like you, you're out the door. I definitely see this being a more regular thing, and NXT right now is literally their trial by fire, make or break.
No, who was it that you said they didn't like the in-ring work? Allegedly, Harland?
Harlan.
Okay, yet they had Nia Jax on their roster for several years working with some of their top talent. Again, to me, it's just weird that a sports entertainment company would use that as an excuse. But, let's face it, Big G, I think they like flooding the market with extra wrestlers and talent because, hey, you want to sign them up and grow your roster and then have to figure out how and what to do with them.
Right.
Do it. I mean, Vince was never afraid, and I don't know how much he's tied into this. This could be John Laurinaitis, who knows? But he's always never minded letting wrestlers go. Just look at the '90s. I mean, he didn't sign Bret Hart when Bret Hart was maybe at his hottest because he didn't want to pay him the money that he probably deserved. Right. Vince McMahon is ruthless, man. What do you think here?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like Noah said, we're so used to seeing these releases, once or twice, even 3 times a year now. And, you had Dakota Kai, and apparently Dakota Kai wasn't main event material. You had Dexter Lumis on there, who I thought was fantastic. I don't know why they decided to get rid of him. And then you have all these storylines going down on there. And you have the writers, already having what's planned out, hopefully for like the next couple weeks with NXT. And, they had this whole thing going on, I think, with Dexter and Indy and Duke and Persia. And now it's like you got 2 of the 4 people gone, and then you put the other 2 together, which makes like no sense. But anyways, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, they're going to go out and go to different promotions and, show to WWE, like, well, you let me go, this is what I can do. And Harland, I mean, he was still young, he was still fresh. And, I mean, he was pretty much Joe Gacy's bodyguard. And, he didn't do much from what I remember watching NXT 2.0 when I did. And, it sucks, but they'll land on their feet somewhere else. There's, like I said, we've always said there's so many promotions out there, whether it be mainstream promotions or indie promotions, and they got your celeb fest, your wrestling events that people go to for signings and stuff like that. So they're gonna make money one way or another. But
now look, Cody,
you're literally I don't know. I can't think of the expression right now.
Trimming the fat, cutting the margin.
Pretty much, yeah. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't with NXT, because, like you said, one day you could be there, and the next day you won't be there. So
now Cody came back. Now, granted, he was the main roster. McIntyre came back, and when he came back, he was in NXT for a month or 2. Mm-hmm. I'm calling it now. I think there's another guy out there that's coming back down the road. I think it's going to be Matt Cardona. I don't know if he'll be Zack Ryder or not. I think he will get somebody's attention by what he's done on the indies, similar to Cody. Didn't really do much in AEW, a little bit in Impact. And that's just sometimes they push the guys out the door because, hey, if you prove it, we'll bring you back. And again, I don't know what they're looking for.
Cardona's proving it right now. So
he's a really guy. I'm, as the weeks go by, I'm getting that gut feeling he's the next guy to come back to WWE, and he'll be big. He'll have proven himself. Now, I know he wasn't in NXT like, McIntyre was for a couple months, which, again, that was weird because he was already established in WWE when he departed. But Walter Cruz, what do you say here?
It's a little hard to criticize. All of us are just fans. We don't know how the business side works, so we really don't know what's going on in Vince's head. But we do know he's a ruthless, cutthroat businessman, and this is just how he conducts it. I know one thing. I'd be shaking in my boots if I was part of what's that new program called? The Next Up, or where they sign athletes?
Level Up.
Yeah, the Level Up. And you see how they just release brand new people. You better hit it or it's gone. You better hit your promos. You better hit it. It adds pressure to them. Definitely. I'll be scared if I was one of them. I would look at it like letting it go. But also, if you're going to use budget cuts as an excuse, to me, it doesn't make sense to cut all your rookies. The rookies are making less money. They're on a different style contract than veterans that you got sitting on a roster that's taking up no TV time, that they're getting paid to eat catering all day. Release some of them.
Well,
that's how you save money, because they're making more money. You make more money on the main roster theoretically than the NXT people.
NXT never made them money until they got the USA deal. Like, I think that's when they started making them a little bit of money, because they have the TV contract grew a little bit because of that.
Yeah.
Again, they're looking for the next stars, but is NXT going to prove it, or is it going to be like your Gable Stevensons through this other thing that, actors and athletes and people like that come into wrestling and learn it from the ground up instead of people that were already. See, it definitely seems like Vince is going away from indie wrestling. He wants to bring in people and build them up from the ground up, whether it's NXT 2.0 or the Gable Stevensons and stuff, who was an amateur wrestler, yes, but he's good friends with Brock Lesnar, so you bring in a guy that's under Brock Lesnar's wing, maybe he can grow. I don't know.
I'll tell you what is. I tell you what is cutting into their budget, hiring all these celebrities out of the. I mean, how much you got to pay, Jackass to show up? How much you got to pay all these celebrities to show up? Bad Bunny and everything. That's what's cutting into your budget.
Like you said, we're fans and we don't know all the different business deals. But like something like Jackass, they might not have to pay those guys much because they're coming in to advertise.
That's true.
Their stuff.
So publicity,
some of that, like I'm sure Bad Bunny they had to pay for, but some of those celebrities might almost be show up and
I'm sure they had to platform. They had to pay Jake Paul, or I know you had to pay the Paul brothers.
That's true. Now, Aaron, you talked about this already, so I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Well, I just feel like this is something that is going to be continuing for the future, so get used to it. I think that the approach right now is to give new NXT signees a probationary period where they're around for 90 days, and if it doesn't work out, if there's no sign of progress, WWE is going to move on to the next group of wrestlers that they are going to try and make something out of. I think that's just business. I totally get it. Now, with that being said, as somebody who used to really be invested in NXT, I just don't care anymore, because I feel like I would potentially get invested in somebody and then WWE will end up cutting them. Several guys like Karrion Kross and Keith Lee. Now, to be fair, some of these people in NXT 2.0 are not cutting it for me. And I could totally understand if WWE brings in some other people. Now, if there was somebody that I thought, well, this person has potential, and then they cut that person. But then again, I'm not running the business. They seem to know what they're doing. Virtue, you look at their numbers for the first quarter of 2022. They're continuing to make a lot of money. So we can all criticize the decisions, but at the end of the day, they're still a highly profitable company. And all it takes is one person. All it takes is one diamond in the rough, and they have their next Steve Austin. That's all they need. If they can find one Steve Austin or The Rock out of 200 people, they're gonna have a major superstar for years to come. The question is, When will that happen?
Aaron, I want to put you on the spot because how you said it's hard for you to get invested in NXT if you know it's going to be a 90-day cycle and you might get into characters that could be released 3 months from now. How do you feel how AEW pulls in some people? You see them get debuted. It's a hot thing for a week or two, and then I know you don't follow. Noah does, but I know you don't follow all the YouTube shows. How do you feel? Like that's kind of similar there too. So both companies could be guilty for that.
I agree with that. That is an issue with AEW, the fact that they have signed so many people at this point. It's hard to really get invested in somebody who might be on TV one week and another week he might not. He might be on the YouTube show. And yeah, you really need to give somebody a regular spot on television and have them invested in week-to-week storylines to be invested in their character. Now, of course, if you're just interested in seeing good wrestling matches, then maybe it doesn't matter who's on the show. Samoa Joe could be on one week, Jay Lethal could be on another week. As long as you know you're getting good wrestling, maybe that's all that matters to you. But for me, at least, I want to see a week-to-week storyline. And when something's hot, you gotta keep it going. If somebody just disappears after a hot storyline or a promo or whatever, and then they're off TV, it kind of loses steam. You know, a week passes by and other things happen in your own personal life. You tend to forget about what the story is. You know, you got to keep it going week to week. And WWE right now, they're just trying to find potentially the next John Cena or Roman Reigns. And if they don't see it, they're gonna make cuts and bring in new people. And maybe they'll make a mistake one day. But so far, they have not cut anybody that has gone on to be like a Steve Austin level star. It's not like when Eric Bischoff fired Steve Austin and then Austin went to WWE and became the biggest thing in wrestling. We haven't seen WWE let go of somebody. And every time WWE lets go of somebody, everyone's like, oh my God, what a terrible mistake they made. But then that person doesn't really do a whole lot. Now, Matt Cardona is making a name for himself in the indies, and he might be back one day. And I'm still mad about the head shape from WrestleMania 32, but I think the guy's really talented, and I would not be shocked if he does end up back in WWE one day. And I think him being gone might help because he was known as a lower card guy for so long. If he does come back, it'll be kind of like Drew McIntyre, where McIntyre got the reset button, and that the same thing could happen with Matt Cardona. He could come back, be a fresh face, and yeah, he might be a big deal in WWE one day. He might come back. Never say never. Now, we do have a super chat here from Walter. Walter, despite being on the panel, said, say yes to NoDQ and share on all platforms. So, yes, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Walter. Please spread the word. If you're enjoying the video, keep leaving your thoughts in the chat room. I'll put some of them up on the video. And I think I've said my piece on the NXT stuff. You know, I feel bad for the people that lose their jobs, but then again, some people might feel frustrated with WWE and might want to explore other opportunities. Timing's everything, and sometimes the timing just doesn't work out. You have to go somewhere else, make a name for yourself, and maybe in a different time period, you can come back and be a big star.
Let me just add, that's one of the mistakes that they do make is they keep looking for the next John Cena, the next Roman Reigns, the next big star. They need to stop doing that and focus on finding the first insert name here, not the next of somebody who made the path. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but that's the problem with wrestling companies.
They're trying to find somebody that can be the flagship, that can do all the media appearances, and who can be versatile and do all the stuff that they want, whether it's work a good 20-minute match or cut a good promo or do comedy or do something serious, somebody who can do all that stuff. John Cena was somebody who could really do anything they wanted him to do. That's what they're looking for.
It surprises me, though, they're looking so far outside the WWE and trying to breed it through NXT versus what they have already on Raw and SmackDown.
Right.
Exactly.
That have been there for years.
You have such an influx of in-house talent, and they do nothing with it. Like before this year, Chad Gable wasn't doing anything. Like, I'm glad he got this going now. I mean, they were calling him Shorty G, and I really thought he was going to be part of the cuts last year. Like, thank goodness they found something for him.
Yeah,
Kevin Owens right now is doing something where he's trying to find the truth, like Vince was trying to find the truth about Mr. America when it comes to Ezekiel. So at least he's doing something. But honestly, kind of surprised me that Kevin Owens isn't back in that top picture scene.
right.
Yeah, I thought he was on the way to main eventing and getting title shots.
Well, Money in the Bank's around the corner, so we'll see. Hopefully, Money in the Bank will really give us an idea of maybe who they're trying to invest to be that next John Cena, up-and-comer type of person. Because right now, Raw needs a flagship bearer more than anything.
Right. We do have a super chat here from DJW, and I believe he's going to be on the review next week unless something happens and he's unavailable. But right now, the plan is for DJ to be back next week. He'll be part of the NoDQ review. I think it'll be his first time on the review. I'm not sure. But anyway, he sent in $5. Thank you for that. Says, Aaron will forever hold that grudge for Cardona winning the IC title. You are correct, my friend.
Yeah.
Aaron, it was 6 years ago, man. Move on.
That is one thing I cannot let go. That son of a bitch. And then
Aaron,
he blocked me.
Did you miss a super chat before Walters? I could have swore I saw one in there for like $1.99 or something.
Let me check here. Walter. Oh, Seth Wallins sent the $2. Thank you, Virtue.
It was that name. That's why I remembered it.
He said, overall, in what state do you see WWE in the next 5 years? I mean, they're going to be pretty consistent with where they are right now.
Yeah.
I suspect when their TV deals are up for renewal, they'll probably be getting more money. They will likely be more profitable than they are now. Now, will the product be any different? Probably not. We might have a few new stars in there. Maybe Braun Breaker breaks out. Maybe Gable Steveson becomes a top tier guy. Maybe
Ivy Nile.
Yeah. Maybe she becomes a major star. Maybe one of these college athletes that gets recruited will. I mean, they're definitely looking for that Kurt Angle, somebody who can just pick it up right away. Kurt Angle was a complete natural. He got signed, and within a couple of months, he was as good as anybody in the industry. I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that guy that, with the snap of a finger, just gets wrestling, and they can push to the moon and put the entire marketing machine behind that person. Somebody who's young, good-looking person who can do whatever they need them to do.
Do you think that those comparisons to Angle are going to help Gable or hurt him? Because you don't want to keep being compared and then you're not meeting that expectation.
Yeah, you're completely right on that, because Kurt Angle was like a once-in-a-lifetime guy, I think.
That's
I'm
lightning
not sure
in a bottle,
anybody
Kurt
would be
Angle.
able to pick up that skill so quickly. So we'll see. But yeah, it is lightning in a bottle.
Well, the way you're making it structured, Aaron, it sounds like Vince is literally trying to retcon a previous top star, whether or not he wants it to be their own identity, or he wants them to literally be like insert name here, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, John Cena, Kurt Angle. When you put those type of comparisons to the future, you kind of are setting a bar, and you almost are adding even more pressure on the people themselves to try and figure that out.
Yeah. And there's a comment here about Theory possibly being the closest thing to the next big thing. We'll see. I mean, Vince is definitely high on the guy.
So far, but then again, he was on Drew McIntyre's first run too.
Well, we do have other topics, gentlemen. So we'll move on. And why not go from NXT releases to Unemployable, Unlikable, and Controversial. Now, the names that I'm going to give to you right now, the chat's going to light up. Toxic, bad human being, whatever. For whatever reasons, they're unlikable. Question is if they're unemployable or not. And me being the old school mindset of wrestling, I hate when MJF, who's the best heel in the business, because fans are so smart to it, he's a great heel. And they don't really hate him. They play along hating him, fine and dandy. Like, if I showed up to an arena, I want to hate somebody. Like, remember when Roman was hated for being the next John Cena? I liked that because I knew those fans hated him. They weren't playing along. Roddy Piper, he got stabbed as a heel. Now, we don't need anything like that. That's ridiculous. Go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. But we have Alberto Del Rio. Now, I get it. El Patron, he's domestically had some issues. He's not going to prison. He's not being charged, whether it was settled, whatever. He's still a professional wrestler. Now, is he reliable? Did he miss shows in AAA before? No show Impact? Maybe. But controversial figure, if you can get him to show up, heel heat. Tessa Blanchard. I don't know what we don't know what's going on in WoW. Heel heat. People perceive her as a real bitch. Okay, Enzo, we've talked about Enzo, right? We're going to talk about Cass Morrissey now showing up in AEW. Where's Enzo? He's a magnet for people talking about him, good or bad. Ryback. Why? Like, seriously, people, if you are wrestling fans and you think, why do you have to like someone? I think all of these people that are hated should be in the business somewhere getting real heat. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me because we're in a culture now, bad human being, stay on the sideline, you're an idiot, you're a moron. Noah Foster, I'm going to come to you first. I like myself some legit heels. And if people hate, if wrestlers are getting people to hate them because of how they are on Twitter, what they say about Vince McMahon's deceased mother, heat is heat. As long as they're not in prison or a convicted felon, which some wrestlers have been. Gage. But anyway, go.
Well, again, it's like you alluded to. You look at today's culture versus before Twitter existed. It comes down to that identity that social media pins you to. And it's also that driving force that also drives particularly PR. So when it comes to, okay, are you unlikable? Yes, you are deemed unlikable because of that sensitive reaction of the community, whether it's human being or in a wrestling community, unknown persona, insert name here. Unemployable, it depends on how PR looks at it. Because, okay, this name is connected to this. He might be a great athlete. What is his track record outside where he was previously employed? Can we actually book that and not garner the same heat that would affect our ratings in a way that would be negative for our business? Real heels should generate real heat, but nowadays it's more comfortable, it seems, to like the bad guy more so than the good guy. So when you think about Ryback, Del Rio, Tessa Blanchard, and Enzo, those particular four names, yes, they definitely have a lot of heat behind them. They've said some outlandish things, but again, the abuse of free will and the power of the internet. And honestly, some people might deem those as social bullying or cyberbullying, excuse me. And others might think, okay, this person can't be worked with whatsoever. It's one of those things though where our curiosity takes over our perspective. If Twitter wasn't a thing, I would agree with you. All four of these people, they generate a reaction. They are generally people that you want to deem unlikable, but if you want to generate that type of heel in the business, you need that type of persona. I recently watched WWE Evil on the Roman Reigns, and you think about all the heat that he was garnering when he was the good guy, but people still hated his guts. Now he's the ultimate bad guy in the business, and everybody acknowledges him in the kindest of ways. But that was also because he decided to just, take things into his own hands. It wasn't like Vince was holding it. So as far as these people, unemployable, unlikable, controversial, all four definitely controversial because we live in the era that the wrestling business is defined nowadays by social media more than any other statistic. Unlikable? Yes, and for a number of reasons. Based on if you agree with that person's opinion, you hear their previous actions and you use that towards the way you decipher them going forward because people can hold a grudge forever or a tweet, screenshot. And as far as unemployable, it comes down to whether or not that company believes their PR can use it in a way that's profitable, not negative.
Like Brian Kendrick, a lot of people, wrestling fans, have always liked him. He can't get a job because of old tweets about the Holocaust, which he's apologized over and over again. But because it was like this world is ridiculous.
Social media
he should
rules
be
the world.
In AEW. Like, shame on you, Tony Khan. You're signing everybody, but you're going to, not bring in Brian Kendrick. And maybe they're just going to let some time pass. I mean, look at what Hulk Hogan got caught saying. He can't.
Yeah, but Brian Kendrick is not Hulk Hogan.
But Hulk Hogan, that's who I'd like to see in AEW, Hulk Hogan.
That'd be crazy.
But again, this is ridiculous that you make a mistake. Humans make mistakes. And if you're not in prison convicted of something super serious and found guilty of it, there's no forgiveness anymore, and that's really shame on people for looking at it that way. So
That's
Walter,
just society's perspective nowadays. Again, I believe
and it's
people deserve a
bullshit.
second chance,
Yes.
but this
It
is
is
the world of
bullshit.
social media.
Now, repeat offenders that do things wrong over and over again, and it's documented, like you dug your own grave. Like, I'm totally
Yes.
fine with that. And Del Rio probably at that point, right? So, Walter, what do you think?
Well, before I go, it looked like Aaron had a thought. I don't want him to lose it. Or you?
Yeah, go
Did you
ahead.
want to? Aaron, did you want to say something, Aaron? Because you were going like this. I don't want you to lose the thought.
I'll get to it later. Go ahead, Walter.
Okay. All right. Because I know that if I don't go when I have a thought, it'll go bloop right out the back of my head.
Same with Big
But-
G.
But like I was born in '83. I grew up in the '80s and '90s. I think right now is just we're a prisoner of the time in the moment. Because when I was growing up, controversy made money. What was the old cliche? No publicity is bad, or any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it made money. This whole cancel culture and super sensitivity, I don't know where it came from, but this whole new generation, like, people deserve chances. Unless you did something that's like ridiculous beyond forgiveness, then you deserve another chance. And people deserve to be signed. It's the wrestling business. You're supposed to have people that you love. You're supposed to have people that you hate. But what happened was in 1996, this group formed called the NWO, who had cool music, cool T-shirts, cool phrases, and they made it harder to hate the bad guys. They made it cool to be a heel. And then that's when fans
And
started.
DX
So
didn't
it's
help
hard
either.
to generate. Yeah, DX didn't help
Early
either.
DX,
So
yeah.
I will
early,
say,
yeah.
first DX.
The Rick Rude and the Shawn Michaels and the Triple H in China.
Yep.
They made you root for them, and then that's when it became harder and harder to get heel heat. So these people, I say kudos to these people that can get real, legitimate heel heat, because it's difficult to do that nowadays because everybody thinks it's cool to like a heel.
Yep.
And look what WWE did to launch the Austin era. They brought in Mike Tyson, who spent time in prison to rape, and I don't know all the details, how that all played out, if that ended up changing, and he really, but he bit Evander Holyfield's ear. I mean, this guy was the baddest man on the planet. A lot of people hated him, but you had people that were curious because he drew so much attention. Look what happened. WWE used it to their advantage to overtake WCW.
That's what you got to do. You got to draw eyes to your product. And it's just this super sensitive culture. I'm almost afraid to say anything on YouTube before they come after us.
You better watch it, Walter. I got my eye on you.
That's why I even, like, before we went on the air last week, I was like, hey, should I wear this Bruno shirt before Disney comes after us? Like, it's you got to be sensitive about everything now.
Public appearance is everything.
You got anything to add over here?
It's such a crazy world nowadays. I mean, with the wrestling business, with Hollywood, anything you say or do or anything you did in your past will come back and haunt you now. Literally. Unemployable. I mean, Enzo, he's still doing his stuff in the indies. He's making appearances. He was at Celebfest 2 and Celebfest 3, and the lines for Enzo were long as hell. I mean, the man was cutting promos on people for $50. That's how much people...
And Big G, he is really good with, like, the Make-A-Wish type kids.
He
and
is.
Like,
I mean,
I had him special
cut
needs kids. He's really good with that.
Right. And I had him cut a promo on me at Celebfest 3, and he did it on the spot with no script, no nothing. I mean, I gave him my name, what I did for a job, who's my football team and stuff like that. A couple bullet points, and the man cuts a promo. I was like, the man can talk on the mic. I'm thinking a lot of these people are blackballed from the wrestling world, like the major promotions, because of what they've, done in their past, So it's, everybody made good points, but like I said, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't nowadays. You got to make sure. You got to make sure you say exactly what you want to say the right way, because if you say something you say it the wrong way, you're royally screwed.
Sometimes you can find out who's really... Go ahead.
It's so easily accessible now. They can bring up something that, you know, when we were growing up, there wasn't no cameras every freaking where and
No.
this, that. They can bring up something so easily. You did 15, 20 years ago. It's just
Right, like I
ridiculous.
said, look in Hollywood. Look in Hollywood. I mean, look at this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case going on. I think my wife told me the closing arguments are going to end at the end of this month. So it's like I said, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Especially in the world of social media.
Yep.
And you know
That's
the
right.
ones that might be really guilty or just a repeat offender because they do kind of just end up going away. And like
And maybe
like I'm going to bring a name out, and he was never made it to the mainstream, but he was at All In. Joey Ryan. He's gone.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's gone. I'm not saying he was ever convicted or guilty of anything because I'm all about innocent until proven guilty, but he went away. He's not trying to force himself back that I know of. But the guy, the other
Team
people,
Dream.
Yeah, well, some people come out and say false, bogus allegations. So you're right. One little thing, and you're screwed. Of course, some people have a bunch of allegations, and that's a little different there.
And here's another thing.
Crazy. I get it, right? These companies like WWE, PG, Sponsors Network, they do got to be careful. And that's what
PR.
That's what sucks for them. But like back in the day, they didn't care as much, and they brought in Tyson. That didn't mean anything. You know,
There's a statute of limitations that's ruled by
maybe,
social media, particularly.
And maybe some of these people like Ryback and all them, they don't want to go back to wrestling. You know, maybe they're just like they did what they did. And they're like, well, you know, with everything going on with me, I ain't going back. So
what screwed Ryback is like, you know, he's a bigger guy, and Punk came out and talked a lot on that podcast and buried Ryback, and Punk's got that called right. That screwed Ryback, and maybe he was stiff, big guy, but you know, a lot of wrestlers are stiff. Nia Jax,
I'm pretty sure Brock Lesnar's pretty damn stiff. You don't see people.
So it's weird. I don't know. I like heat, and if I see people generating heat that have, you know, Ryback has almost 2 million followers or 1.4 million followers on Twitter. There's people that pay attention to this guy.
No engagement, though.
No
he only gets engagement
when
he says something that's really offensive, and all the wrestling sites cover it.
Well, no
That's
engagement
how they draw
because
attention.
I think he's been shadow banned, so that's a realistic possibility
Some
too.
of these people
He wasn't verified for the longest time, so. I think in of his 1.4 million followers, there's a thing you can go put their name in, and it gets rid of like the bots and stuff. I think 80% of his were still real. That's still over 1 million people.
Some people just like being controversial figures, though.
Well,
so,
the
they don't want to come back. They like
the smallest minority of fans, which is the internet and people like us and the Meltzers and stuff, they're the ones that if they're talking bad about someone, it seems like it's huge and nobody should like them. And that's where some of these wrestlers are stuck. Big G,
and there is a flip side. You do have to be careful because you don't want somebody so controversial and so hated that people start throwing things in the ring and then it becomes too bad.
NWO.
Or you get tackled like what happened at
somebody tackles
him. I know. Yeah.
That's just not going to happen again. It just ain't.
Yeah, but what was once before social media is never going to happen again.
Of course.
Because this world has turned into a snowflake POS, and I these people that are part of that culture, like you can kiss my ass. There, ban Aaron for a day because I said that. Aaron, do you want to add anything to this? And we will move on to AEW. I know that's what.
Sure. I will give my thoughts on that. Let me get to these super chats. Seth Wallens sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Seth. Says WWE for me has kept me close due to the feel good moments, and it seems as every year the feels are fading away. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of fans would feel the same way as you, where they've been loyal to WWE for so long, but as the years progress, they gradually lose interest. They try to keep following it, but they've just moved on to other things. Now, Virtue, let's talk about this whole thing with the canceling and the heat and everything. I'm all for heel heat if it's in character. If you're a real life asshole, then I really don't think there's a place for you in wrestling. And in this day and age, here's the thing, to use Jeff's phrase, everybody's expendable with a few exceptions. Most wrestlers are expendable, and WWE has a very crowded roster. AEW has a very crowded roster, and yeah, it does suck that you're basically walking on eggshells. Any one thing you say, something you said 10 years ago, that could cost you your career. And that really sucks, but that's the way it is now. There's so many spots, and WWE can just bring in somebody else. Unless you're a significant draw, they're not going to bring you back. If they think they can make money off of you and the heat dies down, they'll bring you back. Look at Hulk Hogan. They brought him back despite his controversy. Alberto Del Rio wasn't doing anything for the company. They brought him back in 2015 and it sucked. He went to Impact Wrestling, nobody cared. So they're not going to bring him back. He's not worth the headaches.
It's the legacy you have or left behind. That's why they keep bringing Hulk Hogan back.
Yeah, if WWE thinks they can make money off of somebody, even if that person has a controversial past, WWE will still work with them. And it's different now.
Warrior back. Look at all
they did. They brought him into the Hall of Fame. They named the Warrior Award after him, despite the homophobic comments.
Anybody could come back.
Pretty much.
Warrior wasn't relevant when they brought him back, but they did.
So
when you're trying to tell me that maybe a Ryback's not relevant because he could be a real dick, Del Rio, I throw that argument out the window because Warrior came back.
Warrior was a way bigger draw than Ryback ever was.
30 years ago, nobody cared about Warrior when he came back. Nobody.
What are you talking about?
When the Warrior came back for the Hall of Fame, he was gone for so long. That draw that he was just that he came back because I think of Linda McMahon. Him and Linda McMahon were allegedly real tight, and somehow that brought him back into WWE. I don't think Vince still wanted anything to do with him. So I'm saying Warrior coming back to WWE, anybody, they could bring anybody back for whatever. Now,
you look at Target. You look at Target. They sell the WrestleMania T-shirts with the Ultimate Warrior. They still use the Ultimate Warrior in video games. So I would say that his likeness is still a draw. And despite his controversies, he's a moneymaker. People still think fondly of the Ultimate Warrior. They think about their childhood and growing up with the Ultimate Warrior. I think there's still that nostalgia, even with all the horrible things he said in real life. I think that people gravitated towards that character. And yeah, a lot of people didn't like the Warrior. People didn't like his character. People didn't like him as a person, but he was a guy that made an impact on a lot of people, like him or hate him.
So who are you trying to say to this group of people that I brought up that are real life dicks and there never were any draw, and therefore them coming back would just be nothing but problems? That's what I want to know. Are you pinpointing one that you just really?
Well, I would say Ryback. I mean, to be fair to Ryback,
that's why he should be back.
I think
you hate him,
WWE,
and anybody you put him against should be instantly over in your mind. That's how this game is supposed to work.
They already ruined him, though. He never got to that top level.
We're so smart to the business. Oh my God, because I'm a smart fan, Ryback's ruined. He can never come back because I'm a smart fan, and Meltzer told me no. And the people in the chat, Virtue, I'm spitting it like it is, and some people can't handle the truth. Somebody like Ryback should be on AEW. He should be there where people like Aaron hate him so much. You want to see Wardlow kick his ass and beat him. And if you pay Ryback enough money to do that, he'd graciously come back and allow that to happen.
If he came back, he would not move any numbers. He wasn't even close to the level as far as the Ultimate Warrior.
But nobody can move numbers other than Roman Reigns.
He could have been something. I think they definitely dropped the ball when he was getting hot in 2012. He could have gone to that level perhaps, but he didn't.
Because I'm a smart wrestling fan on a wrestling internet channel, and everything must go a certain way, and if it doesn't, I then can't see that guy ever coming back and being that guy because I'm smart to the business. And it must play out the way that my mind, being a smart fan, says it's supposed to play out. That's what's ruined wrestling. Look, I love doing these.
I think it's making wrestling better with people like Ryback and Alberto Del Rio gone. It's better now. If you want to be a good heel, do it by being a compelling character. Don't be a real life jerk.
See, that's the thing. Real life jerk. Aaron doesn't understand. Like, how do you don't know him? How do you know he's a real life jerk? You're assuming.
We don't know. I've never met him, so I wouldn't know either.
In your mind, think that the internet, Sean Ross Sapp, Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez have convinced you that because they know it all. Like, you know what I mean? How you don't know him?
What's funny is
If
some
I
people,
said
I'd
Vito
rather
was a
them be a
dick-
dick in real life. Like,
if
if
I
I met
said Vito-
MJF and he treated me good, I would feel weird.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather him be a dick to me.
MJF,
I don't think he's
guys.
playing a character. I just think he's desperate for attention.
Again, what you're thinking that, but you have no idea because your mind has been made up because you weren't happy with his run in WWE.
My mind's not made up. I just that's my gut feeling on it. And I
That's
trust
Ryback
my
to
gut.
me.
And I tell everybody out
Ryback
there,
to me,
trust your gut instinct. You don't have to be an expert or anything, but trust your gut instinct.
dude, I'd love for the Smarks to get pissed off, and Ryback being on the show would do that. But again, those are the only people that watch
he's
wrestling.
welcome to be on. I would love
Those
to
are the
have
only
him
people
on.
that
Let's
watch
bring him
wrestling,
on.
and you don't want to upset them. You know, you don't want them to go away because they're
He
your only
blocks
audience.
everybody that has a different opinion from him.
So, dude, he's awesome, and I love the fact that Aaron hates him because he thinks he's a real life dick. That's why I play that same type of character because, dude, actually, I'm not playing it. That's really mean. Ask Aaron. When we go to NoDQ meetups, I'm this same idiot a-hole. Actually,
Aaron, throw it out there. Just be like,
I think-
Ryback, prove my ass wrong. Come back.
did
and
anybody
prove
else,
Aaron wrong.
before we're ready to move on, anybody else want to add to this? Because we do got some
No.
more topics.
Well, we do have some super chats. I
Okay.
suppose we could get to those.
Oh,
ahead.
Lord.
Mr. Anderson sent in $2. He says, should be a 3 strikes and you're out in wrestling.
It's in California.
Well, I think Ryback already used his 3 strikes.
For what? What are they?
Well, talking about Vince McMahon's mother, I mean, what's the deal with that?
Yeah,
Vince
it's kind of
probably was
stuff.
like, that's a good one.
That's a dick move, and I don't think you have to know the guy personally. If you go on the internet and insult somebody's mother who just died, I think that's kind of effed up.
This is the same Vince that told Paul Heyman, talk crap about my dead father in a promo. So,
Yeah, Vince
Yeah,
might
but
have encouraged
Ryback,
this.
if this was part of a storyline and Vince is like, yeah, go ahead and talk trash about my mother, then yeah, that's heat. But Vince isn't in on it, so it's just Ryback being desperate.
And your
Anyways,
opinion.
next super.
And
Yes, in my opinion.
And your Sean Ross Sapp, Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer-esque opinion. Okay.
Sure,
Super
whatever
chat.
you say.
That matters. Your opinion matters.
DJW sent in a $5 super chat. Says, do y'all really think talent can get real heat in today's PG WWE? Kevin Owens is maybe the closest. I mean, yeah, it's tough because they can't go out there and say anything that will offend anybody. So, yeah, that is a problem now with WWE being very corporate and very concerned with the public relations. There's a lot of factors. The public relations, everybody being expendable for the most part. It all adds up, and it's just tough for wrestling to be the way it was 20, 30 years ago.
the
That's
problem
why you
is
can't get real heel heat anymore.
Dude,
You got to
it
try and
hurts
create
Max
character.
Cav.
the problem is kayfabe died. I mean, the last person on earth that I thought would be themselves. Like, look, Undertaker has a podcast. He has a documentary. He let you into his personal life. That dude kept kayfabe for 30 years. Like, you thought you were scared of him when you met him. He kept kayfabe. Now with social media again, and everybody having access to you so easily, there's no kayfabe. So it's hard to keep heat. You can't.
Well, and
Yeah,
wrestling
so-
fans think, I mean, that's the thing. Wrestling fans like Robbie Vice, they think they know it all. Like, he can go online and push his atheism and his, being a Democrat, and we all have to, it's okay.
Oh,
but
Lord.
as soon as he doesn't like Ryback, Ryback will never make it on Heat. Dude, Robbie, I just owned you, right? Come back, come one-on-one anytime on a NoDQ debate. We can debate Ryback. That's one of our topics. We got one of our topics booked. Ryback. That's one, because we've been waiting to do this. We got Riddle, we got Ryback, and now I think we got Enzo. So we have enough for Robbie and me.
I
to
like
finally do a
Enzo.
debate. No,
I think
but
Enzo should be
I'm
back.
talking. We're supposed to start these debates up again, and we need arguing opinions. And now I think Robbie and I finally have 3. Right? That's what we usually need. Are we caught up yet?
Let me check. DJW did send in another $5 super chat. Says Ryback shoot-wise got the most heel heat with a lot of former talent just saying LOL. Response to that?
Read that one more time because it skipped.
Oh, I missed it
Yeah.
now. No.
Oh.
Ryback shoot wise got the most heel heat, and I forgot the rest.
Hold on. He said Ryback shoot wise got the most heel heat with a lot of former talent just saying LOL.
Yeah, that'd be great because you could see some stiff in the ring too. Why not? But according to some people, like Robbie Vice, he doesn't even have enough heel heat to come back to make a difference to get anybody over. Because I know it all. Because I sit on my computer and I go click.
Who says they know it all? They're just saying they're just making an observation. They're an observer.
An observation because he's working everybody.
My name right there. That's who thinks they know it all.
Robot number 3. All right.
Yeah,
Are we caught up on
the bots. The
Are we
bots.
caught up on super chats? Because I know Noah Foster is waiting to talk about AEW.
Wait, what's going on over there with Noah Foster?
I'm sorry, what? I was reading mock. You said something about AEW?
Yeah. Well, here, let me get the super chat out.
Meanwhile, listen, the No DQ
Under-
review has been stagnant since WrestleMania. We've been doing 1.5K. Listen, I start bringing the
You're
heat.
coming up with these weak headlines, and that's why we're not getting in.
First of all, let me finish talking there, idiot, Mark. Listen, I finally
You're
bring a
a bot.
topic.
So
and
why
it
should
gets
we
a
listen
lot
to
of
you?
heat, and we jump from 50 live viewers to almost over
93.
100, where the super chats are coming in
Because of
Robbie
me,
Weiss is
because I'm
popping
actually
in.
making some good
No,
points
it's
here.
because
That's why we
because
got
you need
viewers.
controversy. You need to talk about things people don't like talking about and disagreeing to get any interest. The last several weeks, we've all agreed. We've all had a average show.
You just made Big G walk off.
That's
I
right.
just said
Look,
controversy brings
How can
eyes.
we
It makes
continue this
money.
without Big G?
oh man,
No,
you
you
just
guys are
wanted to get a
making
soda.
me drink.
So anyway, I see all these super chats rolling. Let's catch up. We will move on to AEW.
Well, can I read this one about Ryback?
Go ahead.
This is why we're not getting any momentum here, like AEW gets momentum every week. Underground Knight says Ryback has constantly told Vince to his something on his Instagram live.
Provide oral pleasure. That's what
What?
that means. Provide oral pleasure. I'm trying to say it the PG way.
How did you know that?
Because you can tell what he's trying to say.
Oh, his blank. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. I'm a little
And,
slow,
hey, look, some
but I
guys,
finally got it.
some guys could in their mind be beyond the point of no return. So Ryback says, "Hey, I'm going to get all this attention now. Get Instagram followers, get TikTok followers, whatnot."
All right, let's see what else we got as far as the super chats. DJW sent in a $2 super chat. Says, "Set it up, Aaron. Robbie versus Virtue. I'll pay for it." All right, we'll get Robbie on. We should do this in person. I should come down to Cleveland, get you guys in person. We could do a live stream in person. How about that?
Hell, I'll come too. I work from home. I can work anywhere I want.
You're gonna travel to Cleveland.
Why
I
not?
got to get one with Colin too. The problem is Colin and I agree a lot, so him and I got to work some differences out. Like we got to get something more.
He mentioned Cryback in the chat room.
Well, so what? I'm getting people to react. That's what I mean, that's my point here. I'm the moderator. I'm trying to spice things up. And, everybody's doing good except Noah. But like we know Noah, he just wants to talk about the in-ring work rate, and we're getting there.
I know he wants to talk about wrestling. He doesn't care about the soap opera stuff and storylines. He just wants to see two guys get in a whatever the dimensions of the ring are. Steve Austin always says it, and I always forget.
Are you caught up now, Aaron?
He wants to
Big
see
E,
two guys
Black Man meat.
shake hands, grapple for 25 minutes, and do tons of near falls and kickouts. And then at the end of the match, they shake hands, and then we move on to the next match.
No, you got to do
Not
what
Not
Big E says.
necessarily.
Two-
It depends on the
a
narrative. And it
simple
depends
man.
on the quality of the workers. But
We're
What
going
is that?
over now.
What is it that Big E says? That's big men slapping meat. That's
Ooh.
what. Not that way, but that's
Aaron,
what
are
Big E
we
says.
caught up? I think we've talked
We're-
this topic enough. Okay.
We're caught up now, so we can get Noah to get back
Noah,
into this.
I'm coming over to you. All right, we're going to talk about some AEW now. So,
Okay.
Big Cass, William Morrissey, finally made his AEW debut. And again, he was working with Impact Wrestling. So this was a thing where he came in as a hired hand or whatever for MJF and battled Wardlow, and Wardlow went over. So I don't know the long term of this for Morrissey, but it's good to see him there. And they changed the lighting, correct, Aaron? Did they kind of change it from that darker element
Yeah.
to where you could actually see the crowd? So Noah Foster, a couple things that were, in my opinion, who allegedly always bash AEW. It was great to see this thing with Morrissey and MJF and Wardlow, granted, even if it's short term, and they're trying to change up the presentation again. And I'm giving them kudos for that. What else did you catch recently on Dynamite that that your interest is like, hey, because we know you watch all their shows, right? You watch Rampage, you watch Dark Elevation. What's your favorite thing in AEW right now, Noah Foster? And you can speak on
AEW, and I almost fell asleep.
And you can speak on the other topics as well, Morrissey and the lighting.
As far as the AEW product, I just appreciate how much variety I get every week when it comes to the content that I see on screen, whether it's for storytelling or it's for wrestling. I like a bit of both. I like there being a nice balance. And as far as your topics goes, it's good to see W. Morrissey, who got his life together. He looks very well. It was a nice, short-term big man fight as Wardlow's been going past these big men challenges to get to MJF, and it was good seeing W. Morrissey on a AEW product. It brings more eyes to him, and he also told the crowd up yours when they said we want Enzo. No, we don't. I thought that was pretty humorous because Morrissey wants to get out of that bubble of being only known in that gimmick. Look at what I am now. As far as the product presentation goes, I was looking back at old school, WWF, WWE. I mean, it's nice to see the actual lighting where they show the people that are there engaged, invested, the reason why these people are in the business in the first place. I thought that was a nice touch. It made the product feel a bit more lively. So overall, I think it's a good touch to add a bit more brightness to your product that isn't eye-blinding Nickelodeon splash paint, but I digress. And also, I like the fact that they engage other promotions, which breeds opportunities also. So, overall, I thought it was nice seeing Morrissey versus Wardlow. They had a good big man clash. As far as him show up again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure what the terms are when it comes to Impact, AEW, or AEW working with whatever. But for me, I just enjoy the variety AEW brings. No two shows ever feel the same. They are trying to push certain storylines for the long term, and they are mixing it up when it comes to continuing storylines, whether they give it a week gap or a vignette or somebody's like, oh, I saw this on Instagram, which, again, I don't follow social media. Thank God I don't have notifications. So overall, good stuff. We'll see what's next for W. Morrissey. But I'm loving how they're building Wardlow as a big-time babyface. He's definitely going to be a big star, I feel like, going forward.
Yeah, I loved how he was bumping all the security guards and just, pushing them off. Dude, that was great visual.
Yes.
Okay, Big G. Did you get your drink? Did you get your refreshment? What is it? What was it, by the way?
I got a beer. You guys were just driving me nuts.
Well, what kind? Got to know what kind.
Yingling.
Not so happy, Big G.
So you were there, right?
Yes, I was.
The floor is yours.
So before the match between Wardlow and Morrissey, everybody was already chanting Wardlow. I was chanting Wardlow.
Of course.
And I was listening to Busted Open this morning. Cheap plug for Busted Open, by the way. And I believe it was Tommy Dreamer or Dave LaGreca saying that Wardlow is this day and age's Goldberg, but they're doing it right. He's the big guy. He's getting all these dominant wins. And, it took only one powerbomb to beat Morrissey, just not all these multiple. I think with the one powerbomb with Morrissey, it was just because he was a big guy. And if Wardlow's facing a smaller guy, obviously he's going to do the powerbomb symphony. Like when he faces MJF at Double or Nothing, I'm sure he's going to give MJF 10 power bombs, literally killing the guy. Anyways, it was cool to see Morrissey in AEW. I mean, I've been following his stuff on Impact, on the YouTube clips and stuff, and seeing what he's been doing. I actually met Morrissey back at Celebfest 2 with him and Enzo, and I got to talk to them for about good 15 minutes. After I did my signing and stuff like that, I talked to them for a good while. Cool guys. I had to look up to Morrissey. I'm 6 foot and he's 7 foot. I had to look up to him. But it was cool to see him. He got a nice pop when he came out. He got a nice pop when he came out. And when I was part of that crowd too, saying, I was chanting, we want Enzo.
Good. I was just going to ask you that question. If you said, no, we don't, then we would be banning you from the NoDQ review.
The AEW crowd, especially in Baltimore, like I said, we talked about this before the show. Baltimore is a very passionate crowd when it comes to wrestling. Baltimore has a lot of history with wrestling, including WCW. So it was cool to be there in person. If you watch Dynamite, cheap plug, you might have seen me during Moxley's entrance when he was out there, which was pretty cool. Other than that, I mean, it was a pretty good show last night. When the Hardys came out, you could not hear the Hardys music whatsoever. All you heard, like, they might be, since the 90s, but every time they come out, it's like a freaking rock concert. You cannot hear their music. I was telling my friend, like, after, they came out, I was like, dude, we could not hear their music. Like, all you heard was the crowd. So, I mean, it was a good show altogether. Other than that, like I said, good for Morrissey. He's in the best shape of his life. He's got his stuff together. Hopefully he can. I don't know how. I mean, he and Enzo are obviously still kind of close. Hopefully he can put a word in for Enzo, and maybe Enzo can one day go to Impact too. So.
Now, Big G, when you were participating in that chant for Enzo, we want Enzo, no, we don't. Now, Granted, being there versus what we hear on TV, was it louder for one or the other? Like some sections could have been more louder. We want or no, we don't.
It really when you're there in person.
But what part of it was louder? The more people were we want him or no, we don't.
The no, we don't. The no, we don't was a lot louder. Like
because it's the AEW crowd.
I felt like on the left side of me. On the left side of me where I was sitting at was more the we want Enzo section, and the right side of me was the no we don't section, and the no we don't was like a little bit louder than we want Enzo. So
and he wasn't even there, and he was getting chanted. All right,
and the Wardlow chants. Hold on, Report Card Radio said the Wardlow chants were pretty loud too for Wardlow when he came out. So,
yep.
And bring in Enzo to talk a big game against. Wardlow and then have Wardlow toss him around. People would love that. That crowd base, and he would probably do that. Walter, what do you think here?
Well, first of all, Jason, just because I agree with someone often doesn't mean I'm a wannabe of them. I'm my own person and I don't need a gimmick. I can just be me. But to go on to AEW, sorry, I was responding to one of the things Aaron put up there. I think at least what they did to give AEW some credit is this actually made sense. MJF is scared of the big Warlord. Warlord's what, 6'4", 6'5", good 280. What do? You go and get someone bigger. You get someone stronger. So he went and got William. And I haven't seen it Impact in a while, so he looks good. He's been hitting the gym hard. He got rid of the alcohol. He seems like a whole new person. I'm glad he was able to show up. I don't know if I would have. Nah, I wouldn't have done the draw either. I guess they did the right thing by having him go over. It's just, I don't know if you make a debut and you lose like that right away because it takes away from the fact that you're this big guy that was sent to conquer Warlord and you lost. I mean, at least the match was good.
Everyone plays their part.
He's probably just, that was a one night thing and he's going back. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how you book.
Yeah.
And if you want to know who's next for Wardlow, check out Rampage tomorrow.
Inside knowledge.
Yeah, inside knowledge.
Thank you for that, Big G.
Walter, all set there with that topic? You want to add anything else or good? All right, over to you, Aaron. I think a super chat came in.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second here. As far as Big Cass, William Morrissey goes, I like the guy. He was part of Impact Wrestling, or still is part of Impact Wrestling. So he's been doing well there. He's been staying out of trouble. But the fact that they were chanting Enzo at the show makes me think that Enzo is the star of the act, and more people are interested in seeing Enzo come back than Cass to either WWE or AEW. I just think they're best as a team. I'd like to see them come back as a team, and I'm hopeful that that'll still happen. As I mentioned on Twitter, I like the change with the lighting. We got a super chat here from DJW. He says, it took 4 power bombs to pin the Murder Hawk. Cass is pretty much the same size and got pinned by one. Not really feeling that finish, but oh well. So I've seen different opinions on this. Some people think it was better to do 1 power bomb. Others thought that 4 would have been better. But the thing is, if he does 4, 4 to me really shows a lot of dominance. If you can just keep power bombing a guy, you're completely destroying this guy. kind of like when Brock Lesnar beat John Cena, like with all of those suplexes and
or what he did to Spike Dudley, man. Remember the?
Yeah, I thought he killed Spike Dudley.
Sometimes I think like one is better because Wardlow's like, you know what? Powerbomb this guy, got to pin him, get this done, win the match here.
Because he's focusing on MJF. He doesn't care about.
What shocked me is Wardlow going for that moonsault as big as he is.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was great. Dynamics of Wardlow.
It didn't shock me.
I think Wardlow's arguably the hottest act in AEW right now. Like that guy could really be a major star if they play their cards right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I like what they did with bringing in Big Cass, giving him that opportunity. And apparently people in WWE, they like what they saw with Cass's performance. So he might get back in WWE one day. I would not be shocked if he continues to stay out of trouble. Maybe Enzo gets the opportunity as well. I'd like to see them, like you said, Virtue, we talked about it last week, the Bloodline versus Enzo and Cass. I'd buy a ticket for that.
Because do you think they'll bring him in by himself, or they have to do it with Enzo?
I mean,
they have to do it with Enzo.
Put them together as an act again. They had their run in NXT. They never won. Was there tag titles back then?
There was, but they never won.
Okay.
They never won.
They never won them on the main roster and then broke them up. So I feel like if they were to come back to WWE and have that run together, why not? It's like people would say it gets stale or whatever, but like they didn't get pushed to where they should have because the Hardys came in. And why not? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I say if they stay out of trouble another 6 months to a year, whenever Cass's Impact deal is up, I say
what ruined Enzo at first was the little bit of injury prone. Before all his little controversy, remember when Simon threw him in the ropes and he hit his head and he got injured? They were like a little nervous with him being fragile and injury prone. So that's what it was at first. And then all the controversy and the rest of the stuff followed. So he already kind of had one foot out the door with the whole injury prone thing.
Yeah, I mean, there were several things working against him, but people can change, they can mature. And I would say that Enzo's one of those guys that could come back and draw money for WWE. They were getting a lot of reactions, selling merchandise. I could see him being brought back.
And I know Enzo is not this great wrestler, and I'm all for managers if they would ever do that again. And he bumps pretty well for being a little guy.
I mean, I think Enzo's way more of an asset than Ryback. That's for damn sure.
I agree with you there because, I'm a big Enzo fan. Now, the thing is, he's done a lot of stuff. We don't know how much he's trained since he's been gone from WWE. He worked a series of indie matches against Pillman Jr., and I caught one of them, and it was a really, really good match. So, people can still improve. You know what I mean? Don't just throw Enzo under the bus because he wasn't a great worker.
Just think about Enzo.
Better, but you're right. Manager, definitely.
Imagine Enzo and MJF in a program on the stick. That would be cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's one of those things where it's like you don't judge somebody, again, based on their past. That comes down to performance, too. Enzo has put in the work. I've seen some of his recent work, too. He definitely can go, so he can bring it on both fronts. That proves to me that he could be even more of a valuable asset, especially to the WWE, because he was previously there.
Sold merch, too, like top 3.
Yeah.
He was like a top merch seller.
Big G, I think we talked about this already, but you can go ahead and answer it again.
Yeah, I was on
Teaching in Color X says, which side did Big G chant, we want Enzo, or no, we don't?
We want Enzo. I mean, like I said before, I've met Enzo twice now at both Celeb Fest, so.
The Virtue, you met Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, it was funny because Cass was like, I mentioned Vito, and he's like, yeah, Johnny Rod's School of Wrestling. And he was like, yeah, I remember Vito. And that they were talking about Vito the whole time I was talking to Enzo and Cass. So he wasn't even there. So that's what I remember about Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, problem with Enzo is he's such a good talker. He can pretty much bury everybody on the roster. I remember the whole thing with the cruiserweight division. One promo, he just completely buried those guys.
Yeah, he really did.
But isn't that weird? Noah, I know you were a huge fan of that cruiserweight stuff, 205 Live. Isn't it weird that they were, correct me if I'm wrong, when Enzo was there as the cruiserweight champ, did they not have a series of house shows circuit scheduled with Enzo headlining them with a lot of the cruiserweights. I think they had that in place.
Yes, he had an entourage with Drew Gulak and Daivari.
I felt like the whole program of him being – so we'll never know because of what happened and how he got released. I felt the whole program of him being the cruiserweight champ was the payoff for Drew Gulak to beat him. They would have – his lackey would have eventually had enough, and people would have – oh, man, that could have been so – good.
That would have went somewhere. That definitely would have went somewhere.
Yeah, the big
like 5 years
is.
ago now, wasn't it? 5 or 6 years ago?
It was during the early days of 205 Live after he took the title off of Neville, the now known Pac. And again, I was looking forward to that because, I was annoyed at the time, but I knew it was coming because I knew Drew Gulak deserved to be champion, and I kind of wanted to see how that program would end. Unfortunately, we didn't get that.
No. All right, and we're almost ready for the main event. Are we caught up?
Yeah.
All right, let's get the
ready. No, Foss, I'm coming over to you first. You're good. I know you're good with numbers. You're analytical. Roman Reigns. Thanks, Brandon Thurston, by the way. Whoever comes up with a lot of these ratings and these stats that we follow on Twitter. Reigns was the most searched wrestling personality on the internet for April, which happened to be WrestleMania month. He was even mentioned by Charles Barkley on NBA on TNT. Acknowledge me. This is where we're at with Roman Reigns. I know everybody, hated him before, and they like the bloodline gimmick, and everybody's like, how long is he going to keep this title? Will we get the match versus The Rock? Look, to me, Roman Reigns is more important now than ever, Noah, because if they do this right, he can be used to get that next top star over. And I know it's like a broken record when I'm saying that, but look at these type of stats that we're getting. WWE, take your time, find the guy. What do you think here?
It's like I told you, Virtue, and pretty much you're right on the ball there. I saw WWE Evo. Roman Reigns says we're just scratching the surface, even though they did talk about heavily the Nani family and the one guy Roman has yet to surpass in that family. That might be the biggest chip on his shoulder still, of course, being Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But this idea of this match being teased across mainstream media, including Young Rock, Roman Reigns' name being dropped and acknowledged by all the media outlets, Tonight shows, sitcoms, sports analysts, you name it. Roman Reigns is literally the guy to pass the torch. I have no idea how they're going to do it or when they're going to do it. And I don't see it necessarily being at next year's WrestleMania either, even if they do Rock versus Roman. But Roman's going to be the guy to literally breathe in the next generation for the WWE. And again, he literally has become, this is his WWE. He is the guy. He is on everybody's mind. You don't even have to be a WWE fan to know who this man is. That is how well he is known across all of mainstream. So it doesn't surprise me one bit, especially after what he did at WrestleMania getting the endorsement by the Super Bowl II. So no matter how you look at it, whether it's numbers, search results, publicity, Roman Reigns is literally the entire industry right now. Top dog, the king. So at this point, it's just a matter of who can they actually make us believe through Roman's presentation and delivery. That could be the guy to surpass him or the next Roman Reigns, if that's possible.
Now, you know what's weird? No, when I looked at that list, the first 8, because it was like based on YouTube internet searching.
Yes.
The closest AEW guy was in the middle of the pack, and it was Paul White. I would have expected it to be somebody else.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe CM Punk.
Does he do much there? Like, what are people searching Paul White for?
I mean, I know he does like interviews. He helps a bit with coaching. He does commentary, but that kind of took me for a surprise, to say the least, because he's barely in action. When I think about names that I thought people would search regarding AEW, I think Dr. Baker, DMD, CM Punk, Heyman and Page, Kenny Omega, but Paul White.
Paul White's Netflix show didn't even last long. Didn't he have a Netflix show that was like a flash in the pan?
Wasn't it based off a movie that tanked at the box office too?
I don't know, but it's shocking. Then he was number 2.
Well, the Big Show's movie was pretty decent, though. Not the
TV
show.
Tony Khan's going to say the only reason why WWE has all those people and Roman Reigns is the most searched is because of bots.
Well, yeah, there is that conspiracy too, and Jesse Ventura is probably on the case of that. But again, that's a whole different conversation.
All right, Big G.
Roman Reigns. What can I say? The man is on a different level right now. As Noah watched WWE Evil, I did too, and when Roman Reigns first started, he was being pushed down our throats to be the next John Cena. And people booed on him. They hated him. Now that, then obviously when he came out as Joe and announced that he had leukemia, everybody cheered for him, to get better and whatnot. He came back. They started booing him again. And then he left again during the pandemic. Pretty much, he said in the documentary, he was literally in his gym during quarantine trying to figure out what his next move is going to be. And he came back with those white pearly teeth of his and dominated from SummerSlam of last year up until this past WrestleMania. Now, we talked on the review, or not the review, but the predictions. If they keep on pushing Cody to be this threat, he could potentially, if WWE doesn't see this whole unification thing going the way they want to, they could have Cody win the WWE Championship and have Roman as the Universal Champion still. And, Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, I believe they're like the number one merch on WWE right now.
I believe you're correct.
Behind Cody, because I know Cody's shirts, when he came back, they were selling like hotcakes too. But I was saying on the predictions, I have, ever since Roman turned and became this mob boss, if you want to call him, I have like 5 or 6 of his shirts now. That's how much Roman Reigns has affected me. Me and Virtue, we always did the State of the Roman Empire back in the day on Facebook. And, we always knew that Roman would get released from his handcuffs.
We were hoping. Virtue was on this from day one with Roman Reigns.
Yep.
And, here he is on this high on this pedestal. Everybody else is acknowledging him. I mean, I've gone to 2 SmackDown events since he's been Universal Champion, and the pop he gets, his pop is he gets a nice pop, then they'll boo him a little bit, and then when he says "acknowledge me," the whole crowd literally acknowledges him.
I wish he was on the shows more. I wish they teased something at the beginning, had him in the middle, and did something big at the end like they used to do with Austin. And I know, look, Roman Reigns is not drawing John Cena, Steve Austin numbers. What I've said all along is what he's doing is he's holding the industry on his back right now from keeping. If he was gone and they had no other star, WWE could, and look where Raw has been.
And look what happened during the early part of the pandemic.
Exactly.
WWE could end up right down where AEW is in terms of ratings. So yes, he's not doing 3 or 4 million, but that 2 million that he, SmackDown, and yes, it's Fox and it's more places to get it. If you take Roman away, WWE is just as niche almost, with a little bit more mainstream still because of their past, but right. I'm telling you, man, those ratings would get probably down to low millions.
Yeah,
Roman is what got WWE through the pandemic era. He got through that Thunderdome era. It was all Roman.
Brock Lesnar, to a point, still had that. Like, he helps out too, but he's not there all the time. But I just can't think of who else in WWE can you say makes at least a 400,000 or 500,000 people difference to where if they were gone, you give it time, they go down that many. I don't. And again, that's small beans compared to the past. But Walter, what do you think here? Did you talk on this yet?
No, not yet. But look what he did for his family. He turned Jay into main event Jay. He turned
at least upper mid card. Upper mid card Usos. Yes.
Yeah, he turned the Usos into everything. I mean, what can we say? And people do recognize. I know a lot of people say he's not bringing in non-wrestling fans. I wear my Acknowledge Me hoodie. If you saw my picture on Twitter, everywhere I go, and celebrities know who he is. Kids know who he is. People acknowledge me.
Charles Barkley.
They joke with me when they see it, and they go, "I acknowledge you" as a joke, and they know who he is. And it, like I said, WWE wouldn't have got through the pandemic. After he came back, and they were still in the Thunderdome era, I should say, not the pandemic, but the Thunderdome era, they wouldn't have got through it. And then you're gonna use it. How much higher is his stock gonna get if and when he beats The Rock. I mean, you gotta have him beat The Rock, and if Rock gets on that microphone and exclaims that I acknowledge you, you know how much higher that man's stock is gonna get. It's to the point, like, remember Yokozuna back in the day, and I'm not talking about the WrestleMania 9 bullshit where Hulk Hogan beat him, but he was unstoppable and nobody can beat him. And then when Bret Hart finally got him at WrestleMania 10 and all the baby faces came out, put him on his shoulders, that was like one of the biggest feel-good moments of, what was that, 95?
94?
94 maybe? Yeah. Yeah, because he won the 94 Royal Rumble with Lex Luger. So that was one of the biggest feel-good moments, and that's what you got to use Reigns to do now. You build somebody from the bottom. Nobody can beat him. Nobody can beat him. And then when that person chases and finally beats him, it's gonna put him over instantly. Whoever that is, whether it's Braun Baker, whether you do it with Cody, whether you could do it with a no-name person, that person's gonna instantly become a star.
Yeah, and I wanted to respond to this one comment about how Roman Reigns is replaceable just like everyone else. I disagree with that because I think Roman is one of those guys that can do whatever the company needs him to do. He was doing the good guy gimmick for a long time, and despite the mixed reactions, he was having really good matches. Him and Big Show had some really solid matches, and Roman can go in the ring. He can talk, and yeah, the character wasn't right for him at the time, but now, since he's become the tribal chief, his promos have been awesome. He has that main event presence, which a lot of wrestlers don't have. It's just something you naturally have, and he does. When he comes out there, he feels like he's a star. He acts like a star, and people believe it.
He's come a long way from suffering succotash.
Yeah, and that was
Report Card Radio said Roman hasn't done anything for the Usos, in his opinion. Okay. How many main events were the Usos in pre-Bloodline?
Zero.
Okay, I rest my case.
I thought they were going to name that group before they came up with the Bloodline. I swear I thought it was going to be called the Roman Empire. But they went with the Bloodline. Which I like the Bloodline. I thought, for some reason, I thought they were going to be cheesy like that. I love the Bloodline. But I thought they were going to go cheesy like that.
And it even adds into Roman Reigns' character being the tribal chief, going back to his Samoan roots. Literally, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, is encompassed by the legacy of the Onali family and what they've done and what he's done and what he plans to do. It literally is the bloodline.
And if you watch any of those mob movies from the past, like Godfather and all that, they always had like their attorney or lawyer or accountant, and that's what Heyman is. Like it's really well done. And I'll give Heyman a lot of credit. Like he knows the Samoan family, and he must have been the one to convince Vince McMahon, let's run with this. And here we are. All right, Aaron, you want to speak on this? Any super chats that came in? I don't know.
Mr. Anderson sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says Roman Reigns is just another Lesnar. Never wrestle on SmackDown. Only premium live.
I wish he did more. I do. I'll agree with you, Mr. Anderson. I think Roman should do more.
And hey, he had a really good match with Montez Ford on a SmackDown a while back. Like I would like to see more of that. Roman Reigns against some of the mid-level guys on SmackDown. Yeah,
that's how you build a roster. That's how you build stars.
Nakamura should have had a match on SmackDown at this point.
Oh, I agree. Or they could have done a premium live event. They could have done WrestleMania Backlash with Nakamura.
Oh, like I said, they should have did the 6-man tag. I said that off camera, but should have did the 6-man tag on SmackDown. Drew wins, and then that earned him the shot on Sunday 1-on-1. That's what.
I think they're trying to drag out the singles match for.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
Shows.
Clash at the Castle, probably, if they can go that far.
That's
The next damn show is SummerSlam at this point.
Well, Money in the Bank. You got Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Castle.
I think you got to do it with Cody at SummerSlam. I don't think you drag Drew that far.
What's the whale show called? Clash at the Castle?
Clash at the Castle.
Didn't Jeff Meacham say it was supposed to be called something else?
Oh, I have no idea.
Wasn't there another name? Remember, there was like Judgment Day is taken because that's Edge's group. I was confused when I saw Clash.
What happened was WWE registered a trademark for the term grand jury, and I think people were confused about that. At first, they thought it was going to be the name for Edge's group, which I think would have been a better name, in my opinion.
It is a better name.
Yeah, I agree.
And then they thought that was going to be the name of the UK pay-per-view.
Okay. I'll let Clash Castle. I don't know. We'll see. If they got a castle theme, it might look cool.
Yeah, I mean, they could build a big castle set. Maybe they'll do something awesome.
Just go to one of the castles in Wales and just have the wrestling show there.
There you go.
That would be a different atmosphere.
Don't do it. CGI like you did the pumpkin for Halloween Havoc. Don't do that. Build a set. Ugh.
Yeah, that would be cool, and then you could have somebody jumping off the set like they totally should. That's one thing I miss. That this is going off topic, but I really miss those old school sets for the pay-per-views back in the day.
It gave them character.
I missed the game back in the day.
Aaron, the backlash where the hooks went like
those were great. That was a great set.
Yeah, the hooks were great.
I was recently watching some old school backlashes.
And everything else nowadays, they don't have
the big fist, but it was. They released the info about that how much it costs to like transport those sets everywhere.
I bet.
That's
but they got the money.
Yeah,
they're making more money than ever. So honestly, I don't see no excuse. I just see them being lazy.
Yeah,
it's on to the next town, Noah. That's how they think.
Maybe they feel like it doesn't look so good in HDMI or something.
Everything
high def probably has to do with
now,
it.
So, that's why they do the whole like 3D graphics. So they're like, here, we'll give you the 3D.
They're focusing a lot more on reaching the younger generation through technology, virtual reality, laser lights, CGI.
Yeah. All right, we got one more super chat here, so I'll go ahead and get to that right now. DJW sent in $5. Thank you for the super chats, by the way. Much appreciated. Says, Roman is the biggest star in all of pro wrestling, period. But in time, Wardlow can be just as big separately in AEW. Well, I'll tell you this, if AEW could make Wardlow even half as big of a star as Roman Reigns, that's going to be pretty significant. Time will tell. That would be a real test. If AEW can pull that off, even at half the level, I'll be impressed.
Now it gets better.
DJ
Ray
Whitty
on the mic stays away from injury.
He's going to be on the review soon, right? I'll agree with you on Wardlow, but the difference is I feel he would have to go to WWE and be that guy that Roman puts over, and then you would be maybe right.
Yeah. I understand where Virtue's coming from with that. Again, it comes down to booking. At the end of the day, if you're going to book somebody to surpass Roman Reigns or be Roman Reigns-esque, if possible, it comes down to booking. Don't screw it up.
At this point, I'm literally scratching my head trying to think who can do it. I really don't see anyone doing it. Because they don't put, besides Cody, who can do it?
I think Joker can do it.
I mean, Seth Rollins has already been there, and even when Seth Rollins was the guy, he cannot do what Roman Reigns has been doing.
Unless you put a rock at the Braun Baker's back, then I don't know. I don't even see that. It's like I really don't see.
Cat butt.
All right, that's a random thing. But yeah, Walter, I agree with you. Right now, there is nobody in WWE, realistically, that can be the guy that Roman Reigns passed the torch off to. Yeah, Cody, he's got the similar story. He's got the family legacy in his own way, but he just came back. It's really going to come down to how his run on Raw will go. And I feel a turning point is going to be Money in the Bank, not WrestleMania Backlash.
Exactly. And you know, it could have been Drew, but you made the stupid pit stop with Madcap Moss and Happy, and it ruined it. I don't like Drew anymore. It just ruined him for me. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to believe he's credible and can beat Roman Reigns. Get the hell out of here. You barely got over Happy Corbin, and then you let them steal your sword 3 times. They ruined it. They should have just went straight into Roman.
That's where we are with wrestling today. The WWE, if a wrestler is booked that way, so many fans will never take him seriously again. And that's a WWE, that's a creative problem, a booking problem.
In general.
And that's what happened with Ryback.
Yeah. I mean, it did. It did.
The cell match ruined him.
Yep.
Yeah, it did.
All right, Aaron, are we caught up?
Yeah, looks like we're caught up. So yeah, good talk, guys. We got a lot of.
I haven't gotten fired up lately. I feel like a lot of these reviews the past couple months, I've just been mailing it, phoning it in, whatever your phrase is. So I'm glad that these topics, the NoDQ Galaxy, got me going more than normal tonight because it's been a while. And
did Ryback PM you and give you a check?
No. I just follow him on Twitter, and I'm highly entertained. And
has he blocked you yet?
No.
Well, you're one of
that was fun to listen to as I was
reading
my mom's
He's
book.
replied to me before in the past. So
you have to send him a link to this video that you backed him up. Maybe he'll follow you.
Well, you never know. Now, let's go around and do our thing, and maybe we can get out of here. So, Noah, it's great having you back. How was that chapter in the Moxley book? Was it good, the one chapter you read during the show?
Yeah, I was reading about his run in ZCW and the tag team he formed. It's good stuff. Again, sometimes reading a good book is all you need to really relax the mind. Also, controversy does create cash. Thank you, Eric Bischoff. And hey, if I can draw heat by reading a book, I must be doing something right. Thanks, chat.
Dude, you popped me when you did that. Like, I was trying to stay serious when I saw you doing that, and it was hard, man. Anyway, do your plugs.
And no problem. Guys, you want to know more about me? I'm just a simple man, a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I am Foster1916. Literally, I'll be with the Jeff Beecham Network this weekend. We'll be covering Backlash on Sunday night and Impact Wrestling's Under Siege Saturday night. In about 30 minutes, I'll be going live on my YouTube channel with the NoDQ Galaxy panels. We preview and predict Backlash. And remember, get your predictions in if you want to be part of the league. Form is on NoDQ's Twitter and Facebook, and also on my Twitter as well. I'll also be doing the preview and predictions for Under Siege and a forum for that league as well tomorrow too. As always, folks, I'm just a simple guy here to encourage you to just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling too. And with my schedule change, expect me to be more often on here with these guys. Virtue, maybe even next week too. We'll see. But I'll see you around. Simple as that.
Good having you on. And I'm always going to shout out Colin the Cleaver Andrew over at NoDQ.com/Colin. That takes you to one of his pages there. So always a shout out to him. And I can't wait till he's back on. Walter Cruz. Virtue clone, as they say, but you're not, just because you're wearing my shirt and you agree. Trust me, give me time. I will go after Walter on a disagreement. I just have to wait until it's the right time. But go ahead and do your plug.
We just have to not agree on something. But
I was gonna earlier this show over something, but I can't remember what it was, and I forgot already. So maybe next week.
Well, like I said, Noah Foster's a simple man. I'm the simple plug, the follower. All you got to do is follow Walter Alexis Cruz on Twitter. Simple
Good
plug after the simple. Thanks again.
Good having you on, Robot number 3. All right, Big Baller G.
Yes, you can follow me at NoDQ.com/BigBallerG. I'll take you to my Twitter page. And yes, Aaron put this up again. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday, May 15th, 12 to 4. If you're in the Baltimore area or nearby, come to Baltimore Slapfest 4. Parker Kane Promotions is bringing in Nick Aldis, JTG, Buff the Stuff Bagwell, and also from Busted Open, Dave LaGreca and one of his producers, Gabby. So we're going to have a fun time there. And then after that, MCW is having their event. And I believe Celebfest 4 is going to have over 50 wrestlers. So there'll be a lot of tag teams to see, a lot of legends. So it'll be a fun time.
Good having you on. I know you were happy to be here.
As always.
Even though you showed cat butt. All right, Aaron. Over
DJ W sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you again, DJ. He's going to be on next week, I believe, unless something happens. So we look forward to that. He says, the cat isn't fighting you today, Big G? I guess not putting him over tonight was the trick. LOL. That was Joker, right?
No, that was Harley. Joker was the one on the predictions. He doesn't like being picked up. Harley doesn't mind, though.
Yeah, except she did jump down, and you pretty much just let it happen. You could have kept your face in the solo mode for the rest of the video if you just kept the cat up there.
You could have been plugging while cat butt was on the screen.
Oh, good Lord Almighty!
So we had a lot of Ryback talk tonight, a lot of cat butt talk tonight, a lot of stuttering, but we got through it. Over an hour and a half of discussion. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. And pick up a NoDQ shirt at NoDQ.com/merch. We got the NoDQ shirts. We got the Virtue Crying shirt, which I'm wearing. We got the Troll Slayer shirt that Walter is wearing. We got the bot shirt over on NoDQ's merch shop. Has the NoDQ logo on the back. And we got Noah Foster over there with his sunglasses reading books. Always a good time. So thank you all again. Virtue, let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up.
All right, my pleasure. Follow me on Twitter if you dare at NoDQ_. Virtue. But that has been it for this edition of the No DQ Review number 186. For Noah Foster, for Walter Cruz, for Colin Andrew, for all the other team on No DQ, for Big Baller G, and for Aaron Rift. I am Virtue, and we will see you again next time. Good night, everybody.